Kind of. It's a...
You do not need to look at any cameras when you can just look at my smiling face, because my boys, Witness Gaming, got the job done. They're in the grand final. It's NA versus EU's finest, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
What about you, Juan? Are you feeling good?
I mean, I do this thing where when stuff gets really serious, my brain reverts to monkey mode, and I forget all the English I've learned over the years, and I just start screaming Danish noises. I was sat in the crowd yelling a bunch of Danish words that no one got, I don't think.
Can I get some examples? Can I get some examples? Some reenactments?
I don't want to yell, but I was saying words like "Sådan," "Kom så," and then a bunch of swear words.
Oh no, okay, well, let's keep it Danish Christian here over on the sofa. All right, gentlemen, so you're in, I'm going to level with you. You're in a little kind of what we call a production hell, because we are here to kind of do a pre-show, but there's no defining end to this show. And we have got the entire LAN to talk about, and to production, to everybody involved, to the boys and girls, they want more. They need more, and they will get more until we get to our grand final. So look at me with all the disgust you can, Cadus, because we're going into the belly of the beast. So far, what has happened at this LAN? What two teams have we actually came across and have on our plate going into our grand final?
So we have European TF2's finest, Witness Gaming, miles ahead of the NA counterpart. Should really just be the main Witness team at this point, versus America's finest, the Dynasty. The undefeated in many years, apart from that one random online season that no one cares about.
Yep, we don't care about.
And I think that's what we were all expecting, but the road to get there was a little bit more exciting than maybe some would have expected coming into today, but I think we got the grand final that realistically everyone wanted.
Wow. Yeah, was that lower bracket final was a bit too close for comfort at times, especially after that map 1. Witness Gaming, they came back, and I think that's the important part, right? I think that's the main takeaway we have from that lower bracket final, because we haven't seen them do a comeback before, and knowing that they can do that is so huge. Going into a match against froyotech, where all 4 of the games that they have played throughout this tournament against froyotech have been like so close, and they just haven't quite been able to convert any of the map wins, any of the maps into wins. Knowing that they can come back now, it's such a huge momentum boost for them. If you're a European fan, this is one to watch.
Now, boys, I'm not going to ask you, like, are you happy with this Witness Gaming team going in, being the one to carry that continent flag going against froyotech? I have a feeling there's some bias there, but let me ask you this. Are you happy that it went to that wire, pushed to the result? Are Witness Gaming a better team for it because they played that low bracket final the way they did?
I think they're a better team in the sense of they have now faced adversity with this six-man lineup in a LAN environment. They have gone through a gauntlet and come out the other side on top, which is not, for all the plaudits we give them, that's not something they've done at this LAN so far. It's either been comfortable or close, and then they wither and lose at the last minute. Like, I'm gonna put this entire anecdote out at some point in this stream, so I'm just gonna put it out now. This is incredibly reminiscent for me of I-65, where EU's #1 seed lost to the NA team that was in attendance. That was my team 7. We lost in the upper bracket final, went down to lower side, where we played the #2 seed for EU. We lost the first map. We were feeling down on ourselves. Things were not going our way. Like, going into that day, we felt confident, but then once we'd lost that first map, things started to feel rough. But we kept on map 2, process in both series. It was process. Process started out a little bit rough again for both myself and for Witness in I-69. But then halfway through process, they just found the extra gear that we know they have, amped it up a notch, and took control of that map and won it in a commanding fashion. Okay, Sunshine is where the story diverges a little bit because we 5-0 smashed them, whereas Witness just got over the line. But I think, yeah, that's where the stories diverge. But it's an important divergence because, like I said, Witness had not faced adversity before, and we needed to see them face that adversity and come through it. And yeah, even before the match against TF2 Easy today, I was getting weird vibes from Witness, like not like emo vibes, not like lacking confidence vibes, but low energy. It's hard to quite put my finger on, but it was like there was scrimming, some online mix because there was no one else available. I think they were a bit annoyed that they couldn't get like a real LAN scrim. Like there was low comms, low energy. Domo was like nowhere to be seen for half the day, didn't know where he was. Things were all very peculiar in that fashion. And I said to Wan before we covered the game that I had a bad feeling about Witness's mental going into this game. Not that they should have any reason to lack confidence against TF2 Easy, just but something funny was going on.
Do you feel like that's right, Wan? Do you think like Witness came into this LAN almost with a kind of a stacked deck against them? You know, it feels like I had an analogy on the desk where you play a Monopoly and the other kids are doing, you know, being on each other's side, doing these sort of team-up plays to kind of like cripple the best competition.
I mean, I think it serves as a source of motivation, right, for this team. We saw it immediately when froyotech came in. Like these teams, I mean, specifically Witness Gaming, they kicked it up a notch pretty much immediately, right? They come in, they get ready, they start to take it more seriously. I know Pappy now. I've known him for a very long time, since his very first season in Open. I know what gets him going, and at this point, it's those LAN finals. He's been in that position of the third place team for a very long time, trying to make it to the top, stopped by the guy next to me, and now he's sort of picking up that mantle, trying to take it to Banny himself, and I think him especially, this means a lot to him.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think going into into the lower bracket game, it was like they'd already beaten TF2 Easy so many times, but now they just had to play them with the pressure of like, you know, these guys have always wanted to be in a grand final. Okay, Salentus aside because he's been there, done that. The rest of them, like, I mean, this is their dream, effectively. I mean, it might sound silly to say that about TF2 because it's, you know, it's not an esport. You don't make big money playing it, but these guys have put thousands of hours into this pursuit, and they did that because they wanted to play a world championship final on a stage in a real esports environment. And I think the reason that they were kind of having a weird, like I said, weird atmosphere at the start of the day is because they knew, like, you know, one slip up, like they described it as a banana skin match against TF2 Easy. One slip up and what should rightfully be theirs, that experience and the chance to bring it home for EU would slip through their fingers. But the fact that they came through that with that mental barrier, they overcame it. I feel like they're in much better stead now than they were at the start of the day. And at the start of the day, I would have told you, like, if I hadn't had these weird conversations with them, I would have said they were robbed of a map against Fro the night before. They very easily should have won Granary. Had it, like, from froyotech, some of froyotech's members had it from their own mouths that they think, Jesus Christ, we got away with one on Granary. That should have been Witness's map. So they had no reason to be lacking confidence against Froyo, but I just think the occasion added a little bit extra pressure. But we've seen them come through that now, and it's just like, you know, as their coach, it's just like, yeah, I'm so proud of the boys. I'm so proud of the boys for getting through that one.
All right, now, boys, we don't get to see the end of this. I almost could describe a TF2 career as a ladder, and there's only so many notches and steps up to a ladder and all this stuff, and this is the final steps. Not many people, a handful of people in this entire planet have seen the ends of these ladders. Fortunately, we've got one of these guys. I've seen the things.
I'm actually scared of heights, so I would never go up a ladder.
Right, so we're on the grand final stage. There's a lot of pressure. You have literally expectations of people being put on your shoulders. You know, you're being challenged by different people from different continents, different ways of thinking, all this stuff like that. What are some things that us people that aren't as far up the ladder, Cadus, that, you know, we don't even think about or see coming? Like, what are these sort of pitfalls or challenges that Pappy and Banny are going through when they enter the grand stage final TF2?
Well, I mean, to be honest, you'll probably have to stop me at some point because I could probably talk for 2 hours.
I know, it's a great question. It's a question I always wanted to get answered, but not many people can answer it.
So I'll give you a 2-part answer just to keep it a little bit concise, but it's not going to be that concise, I'm not going to lie. For me, personally, I would just say I never really had problems with nerves or like anything like that in terms of the actual playing on the stage. I always felt like I rose to the occasion on the stage. Like maybe in some games more so than others, but I always was as good, if not better, than my regular LAN performance. Like the stage elevated me. I didn't feel any nerves from the crowd or anything like that, but that's definitely something that will affect other players and can affect other players, especially when you have a loud crowd, sometimes a hostile crowd on the side of Froyo, but I think most of them are experienced in that department, so I don't think that we're too wrong. But the things you don't see and the things that affected even me is things you wouldn't really think about as like a spectator. It's things like, especially for the newbies who've not done it before, it's things like getting your stuff on stage, getting your config installed. You have like 5 different admins yelling at you to ready up, and it's like you haven't even got your like config installed on your PC yet, and all this kind of stuff. Like after the segment that me and Juan did, like after the lower bracket post game wrap up, I ran over to them to like A, celebrate, and B, just speed run them through my advice for the stage, because we didn't talk about it before, because I always just said like we have to beat TF2 easy before we get there, right? So we didn't talk about it before. We were not like jinxing it or anything like that. It was just eye on the prize, one step at a time, one match at a time. So I speed ran them through like these kind of advices. Like you just have to, yeah, like there will be like literally that. I've had experiences where there's like 3 admins in my ear telling me to ready up, and I'm like, bro, my monitor is like broken. It's 60 hertz. I'm not readying up. And they're like, if you don't ready up, we're gonna default you a map. And I'm just telling them like, if you're getting this pressure, just tell them like, literally, don't ready up unless you're ready. If they make you ready up, like, don't ready up until they are saying they're actually going to take a map from you. Because, yeah, there's all these little quirky things, like, with the setup. Because it's always such a rush. Like you said, Valorant is running late. The stage is running late. The staff over by the stage. It's not just, like, the Essentials guys. It's not the TF2 crew. It's the Insomnia crew. Like, they're being paid to be there. They're not being paid to be there till 5 a.m. So,
yeah,
you know.
And they want a party.
Exactly. So there's going to be a lot of pressure from a lot of people to get their shit set up, pardon me, to get their stuff set up, like, really quickly. And, yeah, and I mean, that's just one side of it. Like, there's so many different facets. Like, just the mental side of it for some players is a big part, but
yeah, just
the...
Well, before we get into any other sort of aspects of that grand final, I want you to hold on to that note, think of your next point, because I just want to bring Juan in, and I just want him to illustrate how fucking annoying TF2 is with getting set up and getting that game working. It's a nightmare, isn't it, Juan?
It is. It can be absolutely miserable. I think a lot of people might relate to this. About a month ago, TF2 decided that my config should just be deleted. And so obviously I decided to go and find the backup that you have to have of your config, because you're a TF2 player. You need to back it up because it will randomly disappear. And so I add it back in, and okay, like I'm late to the pub, whatever. Next day, I log in, my config completely gone again. And eventually I just had to unsync the Steam cloud, because apparently that was annoying it. There's so much stuff, and it's not just config. Suddenly, I mean, Witness Gaming have already been dealing with monitors that weren't quite up to par, quite up to standard, so they're kind of, you know, getting a lot of, a bit of screen tearing.
There's a good example, TF2 Easy, believe it or not, Gazzy swapped out his monitor with Beaven, and that kid started getting activated, started fragging nerds. It's
as far as I understand, Mula has been,
right
at this point, is on his 3rd monitor, trying to find one that'll work for him. I mean, now he's going for a 4th on the stage, but it's stuff like that.
Literally 50% of Witness have probably changed monitors like 5 times, like between them. Like, yeah, there's been a lot of like weird little tech things like that. But yeah, actually, the monitors on the stage is a good point. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm expecting very good gear on the stage, but it is all going to be new. And if you're like, you know, I think this is one of the reasons why I never struggle with the stage too much, because I was never that fussed about gear and things like that. Like, I could play on any monitor or whatever.
A Scout, on the other hand, It's different
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah, but it depends on the person. But yeah, for scouts, it could be more important. But even if it's a great monitor, just it being a different monitor. Like I remember, like for example, Copenhagen 2019. It was like amazing 240 hertz monitors, but one of our scouts was like still complaining because it wasn't his 240 hertz monitor, asking if he could like take it on stage with him, and they're like, no bro, these are sponsored monitors, get out of here. So it's like, yeah, even just stuff like monitors being different. Like for example, I'm not saying that he's going to have any problems, but Thomas is someone who got to bring his own gear to the LAN because he's a UK local who could get his own gear here. It's going to be the first part of the LAN that he's not playing on his own gear. So, you know, it shouldn't be a problem. Like I say, I'm expecting there to be really good stuff up on the stage. It looks beautiful from here. I've played on it like 3 years ago, and it was good stuff. So, but yeah, you never know. These things can all add up. These like small details can all stack and stack and stack and stack.
All right, well, Kado, again, maybe just walk me through, just like, is there anything more you've got back there about those grand final days? Anything else, these challenges these players are facing that you want to talk about and maybe air to the world? Maybe get some like empathy from people like us who'll never get up there.
I mean, it's a wild experience. Like,
what about the crowd? Do you actually feel actual adrenaline pumping?
it depends. I'm gonna say it depends a lot. Like, some stages that I've played on, you can hear everything from the crowd and nothing from your team. Sometimes you literally, like, even when you've got all the tech problems sorted, I've played stage games where if it's a good game, like if it's a roll, you know, crowd is like asleep. But if it's a good game, you actually just comms go out of the game. Like, it's no longer a game of comms. Like, you just have to forget comms and just play and just hope to God that you get like the crucial information, like med dropped, we have Uber, etc. But in my more recent stage experiences, the audio setup has been very good, and it's not been as much of a problem. You still feel the crowd to some extent, but like I've played stage games, yeah, where literally all you can hear is the crowd. But I think nowadays it'll be more of a balance. They'll be able to feel the crowd, they'll be able to feel the energy, but they'll still be able to hear their comms at least a little bit. Yeah. But the energy, the energy is something else entirely. Like, these guys who have never played on a stage, so we're talking all of Witness apart from Sil, and I don't think any of Froyo, but all of Witness apart from Sil, it's going to be something they experience for the first time. Like, Froyo, all of those guys have done it numerous times. I don't know exactly how it was in RGL land, like if there was a big crowd or something like that, because in that case people like maybe haven't experienced like a big crowd like I'm expecting here. But
I mean, Insomnia crowds are a different breed.
Yeah, it is. It can be. It's a different level. It's a different level. Like, I'll give a comparison, because this was like Rewind, for example. Rewind land in California, yeah. Like that had like quite a big crowd, but it was still nothing compared to an Insomnia crowd. Because
Insomnia crowd, basically, how I could sum it up, I bet you Wham could help me out here. Wham, everyone is pissed, aren't they, when they're out there?
Yeah.
Tell me how chronic it is from previous times.
It is something else. it is so loud. Even, it's like, have you been to it's like going to a concert, and instead of a musician, it's Banny losing. Hope. No bias. But yeah, it just eggs you on. All it needs is one guy to start yelling, and the energy feeds itself. It keeps going and going and going and going, and it never ends, right? Until that final map is played, right? Everyone, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people that, because we haven't had a LAN in so long, have so much pent-up energy that they're just, it's all going to come out.
Yeah, there's a really good point about the fact it's been a long time since we've had a LAN here as well. That adds on top of it. But yeah, like I-Series, it's big. It's a big TF2 tournament as well, but it's also a festival, you know? The NA LANs they have over there are esports tournaments, and that alone, okay, they get a crowd, but yeah, it's at least when I was at the NA LANs, it was never the same like festival feeling where, like you say, everyone is hammered, everyone is looking to party, everyone is like, yeah, everyone's going crazy. It was don't get me wrong, the NA fans were great, but it just didn't have that same. I don't know. It's like comparing
unhealthy drinking culture.
Yeah, like it's like comparing sports culture, like football fans. Like if you watch like a if you watch like a Newcastle United game, like the crowd is just absolutely out of this world, and it's something that doesn't quite translate the same in NA like fan culture. But
I mean, not to say it's a bad thing as well. I think it's probably good that the NA people behave a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, but they have like the USA chant, which is it's a decent chant, but it's a bit different. It's a bit different. It's a bit of a different
pros
vibe.
Pros and cons is how I like to think of it. Pros and cons. Anyway, boys. As much as we like talking about the grand final itself, we should probably talk about a little bit about the teams, and then we could probably start wrapping it up here, because we want to hear who these gamers are, why they've made it to this final, and such. So obviously, Juan, you're very much familiar with probably the EU team in comparison to Froyo, and Cadus, you know these Froyo members probably better than most people, because you played against them. So I'm going to let you guys be the champion of said teams, sort of thing. So give me a player one at a time and just tell me, almost like you're kind of showing off, almost like a card game. Like, I've got this guy, he beats this, well, I've got this guy. Juan, start me off. Who are we scared of?
I've got to give a shout out to my boy Pappy. He's, I played his very first season of TF2, I was on his team already back then. You could kind of pretty much immediately tell he was something special. He started playing the game because he had never played video games before that. Pappy used to be go outside, touch grass, play football. And then my man got a Shadowburn frag video in his YouTube recommended, and his life changed forever.
Did you say your nan got a Shadowburn?
Did
you say that your nan got a Shadowburn frag video?
Yeah. Pappy watched a Shadowburn frag video and decided that he had to play TF2.
Mate, that doesn't feel like an old player.
He started playing Soldier. He came up through the ranks as a roamer, actually. He didn't play Pocket until he already made it to play him to Prem. He spent a couple seasons on a bottom feeder team, Nunya. And before he kind of stepped into a Pocket role a little bit more later on in his career, kind of took on the leader role as well. And he has been, at least for my money, I think he's, besides captain, I think he's been the strongest European Pocket Soldier that we have had.
Ever?
Yeah, honestly.
Better than Mike?
I think they're different players, right? Pappy's a team leader.
Oh, backing up. Backing up.
Pappy,
I see how it is.
I mean, I think, I'm also a giant Mike fanboy. I think Mike is the most mechanically gifted player we've ever had. Yeah. Just relative to his peers at the time.
I know what you're saying. Pappy's a package.
Pappy also brings the team leader element to the team. Yeah. Much in the same way that I think Cadus for a couple times has been nominated player of the season, but not demo man of the season. I think Pappy, beyond being the best Pocket in Prem, has also been the team leader for the best team in Prem. We've seen Pappy play on teams with everyone in this Witness Gaming core out of the roster at different times, and he's won with all of them. And I think that is something that we don't really get that much of. It's super rare to have a guy like that who's able to build a team and a style around him, much in the same way that Cadus and Banny have been able to.
All right, guys, I'm loving the passion, but I'm hating the word count. Let's, start wrapping up. We've got a lot of players here to get through. Yeah. Cadus, respond with that. What is good about Froyo on that team? Who's that player that is formidable? You can even respond back with the same class if you like.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna respond with the same class because I don't think it's a one-to-one comparison, because as Juan quite rightly put, Pappy is so much more than a soldier. He is the heartbeat of this team. So I'm going to talk about Banny a little bit.
He is the heartbeat.
Everyone, especially to keep the word count down, because we don't need to say that much about Banny. If you know anything about competitive TF2, you probably know who Banny is. He is the most decorated TF2 player of all time. He is probably unarguably the greatest TF2 player of all time, especially accomplishment-wise. He is the lifeblood of froyotech. He is the guy driving them forward. He is the guy doing basically everything you can do for a team. Don't get me wrong, he's surrounded by great players we'll get to in a second, but he
He's NA.
He's everything that Juan described about Pappy, just playing scout, and just has like 10 years more experience doing it than Pappy.
Yeah. Juan, I want another player. Again, keep it up, less word counts. It's almost like we're snowballing here. Keep speeding it up.
All right, we've got to talk a little bit about Tomas as well. The combo scout for Witness Gaming has been definitively the best scout in Prem for many seasons. He did the unthinkable, carried Mac to a Premiership victory, which I think in and of itself is an inhuman feat. And it's one of the best scout seasons I think I've ever seen from an individual player. That season where he took that, I think actually they were called Witness Gaming as well, to that Prem victory. The way that Tomas functions is that he has insane mechanics. You can go watch his frag videos. He's the granary expert, insane aim. But he also does a lot of the in-fight calling for the team. He functions as, where Pappy's sort of the overall, the bigger picture, Tomas is the sort of minutiae. When someone takes the fight, it's the combo scout, it's Tomas that's calling the shots. And he's really good at it. Yeah,
he kind of reminds me of, like, do you remember when Numlock was not exactly the leader of these teams, but when the fight goes and he's like saying, do this, do that, you listened, and it carried Epsilon to a lot of victories.
Yeah, I would add to that, like, it's the nature of the meta, like in modern TF2, that even if you have a brain like Pappy, or as some people describe, like me when I was playing Demo Man, in the modern meta, you need a scout that can contribute the type of things that Juan just described. You need a scout that can, in the micro situations, doesn't matter if you have a great main caller who's calling all of the macro, you need a guy in the trenches, in the fast team fights, who sees everything, who has all these positions that scouts can take. You need a scout that can dictate the flow of these fast-paced fights, and Tomas has only been improving at that element of the game over the last years. Like,
so who is that? Or I guess if we've already talked about him, who is the other end of that for froyotech? Who is that guy to Banny?
I mean, Banny is like a 2-in-1. Banny
2-in-1?
No, like I'm just saying, like, Banny is the IGL of the whole team, and he can do all the scout macro as well.
He's got to have, he's surely got to have that quartermaster then. Who's that second in command?
I'm getting there, bro. Like, I'm just saying, Banny is the macro caller, but also able to do this micro. But like, the thing is with NA teams, it's a little bit different. Like, if you stand behind the NA teams, you, like, for example, I'll really quick, I will get to what you actually said. If you stand behind Witness and listen to their comms, you will only hear Pappy, Silentes, and every now and then maybe someone else, because of the volume of the room. If you stand behind Froyo, you will hear every word that they all say. Every call is so loud and so, I don't know, it's not like it's too loud. It's too loud for my taste, but NATF2 is a lot more like everyone is contributing to the micro. But if I had to single out an individual, it would be Habib. Like, Habib is a guy who is just so good at his role, and his role is essentially to do burst damage as a demo man, right? And so much of Froyo's game is based around the damage that Habib does. So Habib's comms, just comming his damage, is a big like initiating factor for froyotech's fights.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna have to enter a bit of a lightning round and all this stuff. We are winding down, and I think I've realised these two teams are so good. We could talk about them for so long, but we have to just crisp it up a bit. So Juan, speed it up, add it to an extra gear. What are the supporting players behind these like heartbeats and these lifeblood teams? It's
actually kind of insane that even despite Tomas and Pappy, Witness Gaming also have Silentes. He's, I think, still the best soldier at the tournament. He's had an incredible LAN. He had an incredible season of ETF 12. Coming into this final, I think he probably is the deciding factor for Witness Gaming. Ixie as well has been playing really well, considering that this is his first LAN at the top, his first season at the top as well. Mula as well had a rough lower bracket final, but overall his tournament performance has been really good.
Oh. I just want to add, I know we're in a rush, but I just want to add, I was so impressed with Mula on process after that dropped in 1, when they had that that push into last. After that drop, he had a perfect game from that point onwards. That is such mental fortitude that I was not 100% sure if we would see from him, but I thought that deserved so much credit. Like, such a bad drop, but then basically a perfect game from that point onwards. So yeah, that was really, really incredible. I wanted to show that out.
I'll allow it. Okay, Kado, maybe talk about NA, balance it out a bit. Talk about these NA players quickly.
Okay, so we've got the soldier duo. Actually, no, we'll start with Arik. Arik is the supporting figure. He coordinates with the team very well. He's actually had a very good performance this LAN. He's only fairly recently returned to TF2, although this is his second LAN in the space of a month.
And he hasn't rusted a bit.
Yeah, he did. He started out very, very rough at RGL, but he picked up over that LAN and was looking very good by the end of it. And he's looking every bit as good now here. He is kind of like the glue guy of the team. Like, he'll do the dirty work, he'll cap the points, he'll watch the things, he'll do all the little niggly bits that,
never complain as well.
Yeah, exactly. He'll just do everything that needs doing for the team, as well as having really, really good synergy, timing his flanks with the team, and just filling in all the gaps. Coming and helping the combo when they need it, helping the flank when they need it, everything. And on top of that, he's a very solid individual as well. He's just the perfect team player for this team. And then we have the soldier duo. The soldier duo for Froyo is, no slouches at all. Jay is like Jay's been in this froyotech roster for a long time. He's played different roles. Arguably, Scout is his best role, but he's playing Soldier for them at this LAN. And
he's a chaotic maker. I feel.
Yeah,
like.
he's a talent. He is one of the brightest talents TF2 has seen.
He's the one that makes me think, those sort of lists where you need all that experience. Jay's like, oh God, it's so early to tell because this kid has just came on and he's that good already. Do we throw him up here with the fucking greats?
When we had the NA top 50, top 100 list, I hadn't seen that much of Jay on Scout because I'd been away for a while when that was going on. And I saw everyone put him top 10, and I was like, really? I remember playing that guy at I-65 when he was Soldier, and it was not that special. But he's evolved so much over the last 3 years since the last LAN that he attended in Europe. And now he is just, mechanically, he is one of the greatest players we've had in TF2. And his counterpart, Paddy, mechanically, he's probably not on the same level as the other soldiers in this match, but he's a player who can think. He can really think about this game. For a non-IGL, he is an IGL.
Yeah.
By nature, but in this team he's not. He's just a secondary, tertiary caller. But he can come up with if a team's having a problem, he can come up with a fix instantly. If you need a creative idea, or if you want a weakness to exploit with the opponent, he will see the weakness. He will come up with a clever plan to breach that weakness, and he will do it consistently. He is, I think, in terms of how he thinks about the game and how he can articulate it as well to his team. And just to people in general conversation, Paddy is in my, I think, top five people in TF2, on a theoretical level, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Not necessarily game sense, although his game sense is amazing, but just in terms of their theoretical understanding of the principles of the game and how to use that.
All right, gentlemen, one player each. With May for you here, Kado. Domo for you here, Juan. Talk me about Domo and we will close out your EU segment.
Domo has been having an incredible tournament so far. He doesn't play the same way as Habib. He's not as central to the team. But when you have a demo man like Domo, he's been stepping up so much for this tournament. He's been hitting insane shots, insane pipes, doing so much damage. He's been really, really special to watch him come alive.
Some of those lock and loads as well, they are proper tilters. not just the actual frags, but the actual tilt factor of these lock and load shots he's been hitting is wild. It is wild.
All right, now finally to end off our little Froyo, it is just May. What do we have? Do we have much to say about May here, Kado?
May plays medic and follows Banny around. Banny yells at them. Banny yells at May from time to time, but no, May is a quality medic. I will say May is the player I know the least about, but May has played with this team for a long time. May knows exactly how Banny wants to play. Sometimes they get into disagreements. May doesn't quite have the right read of a situation or something like that. I would say if there is a weak link on Froyo, maybe it is May because of sometimes their synergy just falls apart.
I will round out that point that who on earth can slot in as medic, apart from maybe Shade, and like not get yelled at, criticized, and fucking ripped apart by all those personalities?
Yeah, no, it takes like, you have to be an amazing medic to play on Froyo. Like, it's just a fact. You have to be, to at least to find
every
success.
single thing that Lan as well, I would say Banny is criticized, or all the people in Froyo has criticized before, is about medics, or it's come down to medics, or they're very particular about medics. And I mean, sure, you hear some complaints, but as far as it goes for those guys, they've got a high standard, and you must be doing something right to get to that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, medic in that team is a very, very difficult role. Like, you have so many things to think about so quickly at such a high tempo, and you know, sometimes it doesn't. What I was referring to before is sometimes it doesn't go right, and May tends to be on the receiving end of the flak for that. But the fact that May can keep up with everything that's going on, and May's arrows actually are insane. Like, his not even just healing arrows, but like damaging arrows. Witness were actually getting so much, like, they were getting very flustered at points by the damage from May at certain points as well.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that May does incredibly well. But yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a lovely little tribute and kind of like shrine and prayer to these two wonderful teams that we'll be seeing in the grand final. I wish we could talk about every single aspect of these things, but we need to eventually go over to a break, start setting things up, plugging in cables, and maybe pray that Valorant finish at some point. So if you've just joined us, don't go away. We will soon, trademark, we will soon go to our grand final. It will be epic. It's got those two teams and all those players. We'll see you then.